Hi there, I'm Michelle the Painter from Berkshire Paint and Sip, and this is Paint and Sip at Home. Alright, so today I'm going to be painting Buddha Beauty, and I'm sipping on some spiced apple tea. And if you enjoy this process, I do hope that you like and subscribe to my channel, and that you also check out my Patreon page where you're going to find additional painting perks. So let's get painting and let's get sipping. Alright, so for my materials today, I'm going to be using a stretched and primed 16 by 20 inch canvas. If you're painting along with me, you can certainly switch up the size, but that's what I'll be using. I'm going to be using acrylic paint today. My colors are Mars Black, Burnt Sienna, which I like to call Rust, Deep Yellow, Titanium White, Fluorescent Pink, and Burnt Umber, which I like to call Brown. You can certainly switch those up as well if you like, but that's what I'll be using. For my tools today, I have a white piece of chalk that I'll be using for some drawing, and then I have two brushes. I have a 3/4 inch wide flat bristle brush and a number 6 round synthetic brush, and I'll refer to these as small and large as we go through the painting process. And of course you can switch those up as well, but that's what I'll be using. If you're painting along with me, you'll probably want to have a cup of water for washing your brushes, as well as a paper towel for drying your brushes. And down below this video, in the video description, I will be providing you with a couple of additional resources that can help you throughout your painting process. One of them is a link where you can purchase the same exact paint kit that I'm using, from the same size and type of canvas to the same type of paints and brushes and all the good stuff in between. So that's there. There's also a link where you can download a free image of the final painting, so you can print that and use it as visual reference as you go through the painting process. And there's also written step-by-step instructions down there for you as well. And that's all we're going to need today. Alright, so what we're going to do for the first step is we're going to be painting our background. I'm going to be using my large brush, and I'm going to be using just black paint. I'm not going to be using any special brush strokes when it comes to painting in my background. I'm really just looking for a thin layer of black paint to cover the entire canvas. Black covers it really well, so you can, in essence, kind of use any type of brush stroke to get it on there. You'll notice sometimes especially when I'm using black, I kind of paint around the edges first so I can get that exterior done, and then I just kind of work my way in towards the middle. But you could certainly do any brush stroke. You can do all horizontal or all vertical brush stroke. When I get all the paint on, I usually will go back and forth and give myself kind of one final pass to make sure that I have all of my paint kind of nice and level like this. I'll go back and forth like this so I can have it nice and level and kind of have the same thickness of paint, even though this paint covers really well and it will all just look black when you're done. If you have painted the whole thing, it may end up having these little peaks in the paint. So if you have thicker paint, sometimes it'll give you like a little ripple or bump within that paint after it dries. So I like to kind of just go back and forth like this to make sure it's all kind of the same level, and then when it dries, I will avoid having those unnecessary peaks behind some of my details that if I don't want them. And then I just kind of continue till I get the entire canvas done. You could certainly paint the edges or the sides of your canvas as well. That will make your project look nice and professionally done, and like you've paid the same amount of attention on the entire project as you did to the front of it. And then again, I'm just kind of going back and forth, making sure I have a nice level layer of paint. And then we're going to be using our piece of chalk for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can put your large brush away, take out your piece of chalk, and get ready for the next step. Alright, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to draw an outline for our Buddha. I'm going to be using my chalk. I do recommend before you start this step that you make sure that your canvas is dry. So this is that time where you get to take that extra long break if you'd like to. Or you can find some kind of fun fanning method to get it dry, or you can do as I did and just whip out a blow dryer and get it dry that way. So I'm going to be guiding you through a series of markers, and then we're just going to connect those markers, and by the time we're done, we'll have a nice basic shape that we'll be able to utilize during the coloring in process for painting. I'm going to be having my Buddha having kind of this beautiful, almost like lotus kind of neck piece. So I'm going to start with that first, and then we're going to build just a basic shape for her face and her headpiece, and we'll go from there. So the neck piece that I'm going to be drawing, I wanted to kind of resemble like a lotus flower because they're associated with Buddhas. So I thought that it would be nice and inspirational and representational. So I figured I'd have that as a nice neck piece for her. I don't want it to go too big or too far, so I'm going to give myself a couple of markers for barriers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find myself about the center of my canvas, top to bottom, left to right. So my center is about somewhere in through here. I'm going to come down about an inch and then over maybe about 3.5 to 4 inches. Somewhere in through here is going to be the highest point of one of those petals that I'm going to be doing. Then on the right hand side of my canvas, I'm going to come up about 1/4 of the way. So to know where that is, if you kind of eyeball your halfway up or down on the right hand side, and then go about halfway between that and the bottom of your canvas, make yourself a marker in through here, give or take a little bit. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect or exactly the same spot as mine. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put petals that are going to be up here, and then they droop down. They're all going to be kind of in a cup type of manner. So I'm going to start with my petals that are kind of in the front first, and then we'll work our way towards the back petals. So I'm going to have 2 petals kind of in the front in through here. So I'm going to find myself about halfway at the bottom of my canvas. Then I'm going to come to the right of that, maybe a couple of inches, somewhere in through here. That'll be my first marker. And I'm going to bring this up in just kind of a looping type of a way. So I'm just going to kind of bring this up like this and over here, and then just kind of bring it back down in through here. And again, yours doesn't have to be exactly as mine. I'm going to do another one in through here. So I'm just going to go to the left of this marker, maybe about 1.5 inches or so. So somewhere in through here. And then I'm going to kind of connect these two somewhere in through here, and then just give myself another little kind of representational leaf or petal. It doesn't, again, have to be exactly as mine, but something like that. So now what I'll do is I will build all of my other ones out. I think I'm going to actually move this edge a little bit farther in through here. Yeah, there we go. The beauty of chalk is we just get to erase as we go. Just wanted that to be over just a little bit further. There we go. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over on my right side, do a couple more in through here. So I'll take this one from here, just bring it up a little bit like this, and then just back around. This will scoot in behind it, and then I'll have another one in through here. And this is where this is going to be my barrier. I don't want to go any farther than that. And then I'll give myself a little curved line down in through here. I'll do the same thing over on the left-hand side. I'll have maybe a little petal kind of coming out, sticking out behind here, and then maybe I'll have another one coming up in through here like that, and then I'm going to just kind of shoot this one down towards almost the bottom of this petal in through here. So I'm really just kind of building my way back behind these 2 petals. The next one I'm going to have kind of over in this direction. So I'll come down this one quite a ways, maybe about halfway down it, and then I can kind of come up like this, and then maybe pull this out in like a little pointy direction like this, and then just back down and bring it. Really, this one can kind of almost go down to the bottom of your canvas. And again, these don't have to be perfectly placed. This is just giving us some kind of structure to work from. I'm going to have another one kind of about halfway in this one. So maybe this one kind of comes up a little bit and then curves back down. These flowers are so beautiful with their petals. They just kind of wrap around and kind of in a cupping type of a manner. And then I'll have another one kind of meeting this one down in through here. This will be down way far down at my edge down in through here. And then I'm going to have one more back up in through here. So this will be, again, the spot that I don't go any taller than this. So once I've got this done, and then I just curve this back down into here. So once I've got that done, I've just got to build an exterior shape to her head and her headpiece. And again, I don't want to go too wide or anything, so I'm going to give myself a couple of markers. I'm going to start at the center of my top of my canvas and go to the left about an inch. This is going to be the representation of her top piece of her headpiece, and I'm just going to give myself a little bit of a curve down in through here. Once I've got that done, my ultimate goal is to reach this petal in through here, kind of like this corner in through here. That's going to be the end of her face, but I want another kind of bump for her headpiece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down from the top of my canvas to about here, and I'm a little bit to the left of here. So I'm going to go to the left of here about maybe an inch, and then down. This is about halfway down my canvas, so I'm about 2 or 3 inches above that. So somewhere in this vicinity is where I'm making my next mark. I'm going to connect these two with a curve like this, something like that, and then I'm going to connect here to here with a little bit of a curved mark for her face, but I don't need it super duper curved. So just out just a little bit like this, and then just bring it back down into here. She has an ear, so I'm going to place a little bit of a marker for an ear up and through here. And what I was noticing when I was looking at Buddhas is they have longer earlobes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of make myself this mark in through here that's going to be representational of her earlobe, just going behind that flower. And that's all I'm going to be doing for my, well, actually, one more mark. I want to mark off where her headpiece is to her head. So I'm going to go directly across from here over to the right hand side, make myself another mark, and then just connect these two with kind of an arcing type of a line. This will be her headpiece in through here. So something like that. And then we're going to be using our large brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, make any little adjusting that you need to do. You can put your chalk away, take out your large brush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to paint the base coat for our Buddha. I'm going to be using my large bristle brush. The colors that I'm going to use are burnt sienna, black, and white. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to have my Buddha having kind of a metallic look to her, but you could certainly paint yours in whatever color that you want. So I'm going to be building these metallic type of colors on top of the black, which will give it a nice shiny effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with burnt sienna on her face and the petals to the flower, and I'm going to be using a gray color for the headpiece. So I'll be using burnt sienna, black, and white. I'm going to start with the face, and I'm using burnt sienna. Really, all I'm going to be doing is coloring in the entire face, except for right around where it's going to meet the headpiece. I'll make that a little bit kind of in a faded way, and then the ear, I'm just going to put a very little bit on that as well. So I don't need to do any fancy brush stroke. I just don't want my paint too heavy. So as I'm going through this, I'm putting it on, but I'm going to kind of rub it in as well. So it's not so heavy that we don't see through it. So I put a good amount in the middle, and then I'm just going to kind of spread it out around the face so it takes on the aspects or the colors of the burnt sienna, but it still sees some of that black underneath. So as I'm coming towards the edge of the headpiece, I'm kind of just rubbing it in so it fades into the black around there. And because it is transparent or translucent, you're going to see some of the black through it, and that's my intent. I want a little bit more on this chin area, so I just picked up, or where the mouth is going to go, I just picked up a little bit more of the burnt sienna. And as I'm coming down towards the flowers, I am putting it right up to them and just kind of rubbing my brush into them, or right into that area, because I don't want it to look like I'm necessarily painting around those flowers. So I'm just kind of making sure that I have a nice soft coverage of this burnt sienna throughout the entire face, and I'm just kind of continuing to apply it in a circular type of fashion to rub it out towards the edges, but you can really apply it in any brush stroke that you want, and it's probably going to look a little uneven at this point, which is okay because we've got lots of layers to go. This is just kind of the starting point. I'm going to put a tiny bit on her ear, so I just picked up a little bit of my burnt sienna, just putting a little bit on her ear over here and then down in through here. And then I'm going to do the same thing for my petals, only I'm going to approach them in each as their own petal. So I will put the burnt sienna on a little bit heavier at the top, and then I'm just going to pull my brush down so it may end up a little bit darker down at the bottom. So for instance, if I'm doing this one in through here, I'm putting my burnt sienna up at the top, and then I can just kind of pull it down towards the bottom of that petal. So it may end up looking a little bit darker down at the bottom. And it's not necessarily necessary to get a full beautiful effect at this point. Again, we're just kind of setting the stage. You may end up with some dark spots and light spots, and that's my intent because I want this to look like it's got some shiny values to it by the time I'm done. And because I'm using a little bit more paint up at the top of these petals next to the face where I didn't, you can see the difference between the edges. So if you have some of your chalk still showing after this step, that's okay too, because we've got lots of steps to go. So again, just a little bit of my burnt sienna on the tip of my brush, pulling it down from the top of that petal in my opinion, like the direction that the curve of the petal is going. So heavy at the top, or starting your brush stroke at the top and then just kind of pulling it down towards the base of that petal. Same thing up and through here, kind of heavier up at the top, starting at the tip of the petal and then just pulling it back in the direction that I want it to go. And again, don't be terribly concerned about full coverage of your paint at this stage. This is just getting the party started. And again, just reloading my brush to get to the tip of this petal. And you can really do them in any order because you're kind of staying away from the one that it sits next to a little bit. So if you can start in any direction or with any one that you wanted. And then again, just kind of starting at the tip of this one in through here and then just pulling it back. And again, not terribly concerned if I paint the entire petal or if I have some of my chalk marks still showing, that's okie dokie. This one I think I'm going to kind of identify a little bit more of the tip. Maybe it overlaps that one a little bit. And then again, just pulling this down in this direction. And we'll have some of these, I might have these tips overlapping each other, and that'll get defined better when I do my details. I think I need to move my canvas here so I can hit this one over here. And again, just kind of taking that burnt sienna and just kind of pulling it down towards the bottom. Oh, that petal grew on me, great. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to wash and dry my brush. I'm gonna put a little bit of gray on the top of the, on her headpiece. So I'm gonna be using black with a little bit of white. So I'm going to take my brush, take a little bit of black and just a teeny tiny bit of white paint. I want this to be pretty dark gray. I don't want it to go too light on me, so that's how I'm gonna accomplish a nice dark gray look. And I don't need to do much here. I don't want to color the whole thing. I'm just gonna kind of give myself a soft type of look here, so I'm not painting in the whole thing. I'm using this scrubbing type of technique with a circular brush stroke. So this is going to allow me to have some peekaboo spots of the black showing through. And then I'll take a little bit more of this and do a little bit up in this top piece as well. And that's all we're going to be doing for that step. We're going to be using our small brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can put your large brush away, take out your small brush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to do the first layer of our facial features. So I'm going to be using my small brush. I'm predominantly going to be using black, but I'll probably be using some of my burnt sienna as well. really what we're going to be doing is the eyes are closed, so we're just going to be making some marks as far as where the bottom of the eyelids are, and then where the eyebrows would go. We'll be making marks for those. And then we're going to be kind of contouring down a little bit down the nose. We have light on the left-hand side, so the right-hand side of the face is going to be a little bit darker. So we'll put a little bit of darkness by that nose, and then we'll show where the bottom of the nose is and where the mouth is. So we're just really kind of putting them in place now because we're going to be blending all of the skin in a future step. So I'm going to start with some black paint. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself a couple of markers where I want my, my eyebrows to go. So I'm having the center of my head in through here. I've got a little bit of my face off of my camera or off of the canvas. So I'm having mine right about here. So if this is about halfway left or right, I'm to the right of that a couple of inches is where kind of the bridge of the nose is going to go. So I'm going to go about halfway between here and here. So, and maybe like right at the bottom of this ear part, right about here is where I'm going to make my first marker. I'm going to go to the right of that about an inch, make myself a little bit of a marker. This is going to be the top of the bridge of the nose. Then I'm going to make myself a long arcing line for that eyebrow. I'm going to have it end, if this is the bottom of my headpiece, I'm going to have mine kind of coming right about in through here. So something like that on that side. And then on this side, I'm going to have it ending right near my ear. So here's my ear in through here. I'm going to have it ending right about here because we're seeing this whole one and a part of that one. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect these markers. So I'm just loading my brush with some black paint, and I'm going to connect this with a big kind of arcing type of line. And you can make this as wide or as thin as you want. It's all on how you want your Buddha to be represented. I'm using kind of soft edges to my lines, so I'm just going to kind of like softly make those edges blend a little bit with the background. And then my next one I'm going to take from here, I'm going to go up and then bring it back down in this direction. And then I just widen my line a little bit and soften the edges so it's not such a firm line. We're going to, like I said, be blending it a little bit with all of the skin and stuff like that, but right now just kind of giving myself a loose, sketcherly kind of line. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark where my eyes are going to go. So I'm going to come down from this just a little bit and to the right maybe about half of an inch to an inch, somewhere in through here, and then do the same thing over on this side. So down just a little bit and over to the left just a little bit, maybe somewhere in through here. So again, this one I'm going to see the whole thing. So I'm going to come to the left almost as far as that and then up just a little bit. So somewhere in here, and then I'm going to connect these two with an arcing line in the other direction. So I'm bringing it in a downward motion. And again, you can make it a little bit wider. You can have soft edges to it. It doesn't have to look really firm. You can, just give a nice sketchily line to it. And then this one is going to end up just a little bit higher than here, all the way over to the edge, something right about in through there. I'm going to just reload my brush and then just paint in my nice sketchily, very faint of a curved line like this. And again, yours might be a little bit different in shape than mine, which is totally fine. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come straight down from the center of these two, right around here. So this is maybe, how can I give a measurement here? So let's see how big my eye is. So I'm about almost as long as that down here. So somewhere in through here is kind of the bottom of my nose. And then I'm going to come down from that maybe about another half of an inch to an inch, which is the top of my mouth. And then come down from that about another inch, which will be the bottom of my mouth, somewhere in through here. So bottom of nose, top of mouth, bottom of mouth. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a little bit of water on my brush with my black paint. So this is going to allow me to have a little bit of transparency or translucency in my paint. I'm going to take this and just kind of give myself a little bit of the essence of the shape of the bottom of the nose. So I just kind of bring this down a little bit and then up and then curve it up just a little bit. You can even curve it up those sides just a little bit to give yourself the shape of that. I'm going to go ahead and make myself a mouth. So the mouth will typically kind of line up, you know, with the center of people's eyes. So I've got mine just a little bit further in there because I have my eyes exaggerated and bigger. So I'm going to go a little bit out from the edge of my nose, and I'm going to make the corner of my mouth here, a little bit out from the edge of my nose, make the corner of my mouth in through here. And then I can, maybe that one's a little bit too high, a little bit lower like that. And then I can connect these. And again, I'm not using a lot of paint on my brush. I've got a little bit of water in my bristles, so I can just give myself a little bit of a gentle line. And then in through here, I'm just going to kind of bring this across and bring it up to the edge of my mouth. And of course, your mouth is going to end up, you know, probably a little bit different shape than mine, and it's all right. And then I'm going to bring across the center part of the mouth in through here. So once I've got that on there, I just need to blend the skin a little bit. So I'm going to take, I've got black and water on my brush. I'm going to pick up a little bit of burnt sienna also, and I'm going to give myself a little bit of a darker area in between where that nose meets the mouth in through here. Maybe a little bit more black, get this a little bit darker in through here. So what this is going to do, it's going to allow me to kind of give some contour on the face. I'm going to put it nice and dark underneath the nose, and then I'm going to get it to blend out, and I'll put a little bit of darkness underneath this mouth as well, and then I'll get it to blend out into my burnt sienna. So I've got burnt sienna and black on my brush right now, and I'm just kind of blending it out. Do the same thing underneath the nose in through here, and I'm going to have this right side a little bit darker, so I can pull this up just a little bit more, maybe around the edge of that nose. I'm going to pick up burnt sienna now, so I can get this to blend a little bit more as it's coming up this side. And again, I'm just kind of allowing myself to put these, I picked up a little bit more black too, to get these features in place. And we'll do much more work on them in a little while, but this is just going to get us to understand where they go and get them to kind of start blending in with the neighboring areas of the face. And then once you've got this done, you can fiddle with it all you want. Get those just this black area to blend as much as you can with the neighboring areas. And then we're going to be using this same brush for the next step. So once you've got this done, you can wash and dry this small brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to do the first layer of the decorations on the headpiece. I'm going to be using my small brush. The colors I'm going to use are burnt sienna and black. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting in all of my little decorative marks with burnt sienna, and then we're going to pop in a little bit of a black detail around them. So I'm going to start with burnt sienna, and you can make whatever kind of decorations on your headpiece that you would like. I'm just going to make what I think is going to be pretty, but you can make whatever you like. So I'm going to attempt to make mine kind of symmetrical from one side to the other. So I'm going to go straight up from the center of the nose, and I'm going to put a circular kind of mark right in through here, somewhere like that, and just a circle. And then I'm going to put another one above that, right in here, kind of crossing over these two pieces in through here. And then I'm gonna have some fun. So I think I'm gonna go to the left and right of this one in through here, and maybe put one here, and then one here, and I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side with a similar size round mark. But I am just freestyling this, so my marks might not be exactly symmetrical. So you can, if you would like to draw them out on your end, you can certainly do that. I'm gonna put another small one in through here, which means I'll put a small one in through here. Kind of a small one. And then I'll put a couple of larger ones, maybe one in through here, and then another big one up in through here. And again, feel free to make yours whatever way you want. Since I did these two big ones, I'm going to have something similar. Or I should probably do this one first so I don't get lost here. It's hard to go one side to the other, but you can certainly explore your own ability to make symmetrical circles as well, like that. And then this side, I don't have to make this look at the same as the other side, so I can do whatever I want on this side. So I think I'm going to have maybe a small one here, and then maybe we'll do 3 big ones. I'm going to have these ones kind of crossing over this, the edge of the piece in through here. 1, 2, and then we'll do a third one down in through here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect them all with, again, more decorative things. So I think I'm going to have these two connecting with just a arcing line like that. Maybe we'll take this and go from here to here. And this is where you just get to explore like what kind of jewelry is, you know, appealing to you, what kind of symmetrical designs are appealing to you. So again, this, you know, you might find that you really want to make lots of jewels and gems and shiny things on yours, so don't feel the need to make it exactly as mine. So I think that's all I'm going to do. Oh, maybe these pieces want to get connected. Maybe. That was probably unnecessary. Then I'm going to put a little band around the exterior part. So I'm just going to take this and just kind of connect these outside pieces. So I have a little connector, and then up here I'm going to take this and just make sure that this kind of has something in through here. And then the top piece, I'm going to have these vertical type of marks. So I'm going to start in the center in through here, and I want it to look like it's kind of curved. So as I bring these out, I'm going to kind of curve them out so it looks like they're kind of going around, or the top of her headpiece might have some sort of round type of a shape to it. And then maybe from here, we just kind of bring these out in this direction. And then whatever I do on one side, I attempt to do on the other side. So I did 1, 2, and I learned to count when I do this too. 1, 2, and 3. And then maybe we'll have one on this outside portion in through here. And then I'm going to take and wash my brush, and I'm going to put a little bit of black paint on it so I can start what'll be my kind of detail process to it. But this is a step that I'm just going to take my black paint and give myself a little bit of a shadow type of a look over on the right side of these parts that I feel is kind of bumping out. So I'm just kind of taking that black paint and going on the right side, or these ones maybe it'll be on the bottoms of them. So this is because we did the gray underneath, this black is going to show up. So this is how I was able to easily just kind of come up with a way to get these little pieces to look three-dimensional, was to put that gray underneath them, and then now I can go ahead and just put in these little black shadows underneath these pieces, and it's going to give it a lot of depth and dimension. And then once I've got this done, we're actually going to be switching to our large brush for the next step. And I'm just going to kind of finish up making all of these little shadows on the bottom kind of right side of these. I'm going to do the same thing under this little piece up and through here, but that already kind of had a shadow in it. And then maybe on the right side of these pieces, because again, my light source I'm going to have on that left side of my face. So this is all making sense if I just kind of bring these down the right side, something like this. And then you can put this small brush away, take out your large brush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to finish the skin of our Buddha, be it brass skin or metal skin. So it's going to be her face. I am going, or his face, if you like yours to be a male or a female, it's up to you. The things that I'm not going to be doing on this step is I'm not going to finish like the details on her eyelids or her eyebrows or the tip of her nose or her mouth. I'm really going to be focusing in on the contour of the main part of her skin. So her forehead, her eyelids I'm going to tackle, her nose, the bridge of her nose, but I'm not going to go in for those fine-tuned details. I'll be putting a nice highlight over on this side of the cheek. We'll illuminate that cheek a little bit. I will be using my large brush. The colors that I'm going to use are yellow, brown, and probably some burnt sienna for some blending, and a little bit of white as well. So I want this to look like it's a metallic type of color. So I've got my burnt sienna underneath, which is going to give it the brassy kind of tones. And I'm going to put a gold color on top of it. So it kind of looks maybe like an antique-y gold brass type of look. So I am pre-mixing. I have pre-mixed a gold type of color. I'm going to show you how I got there. I'm going to use my small brush to mix the color so you can see how to create it. So all I did to get to this kind of goldish color, which is looks a little on the greenish side, is I used brown and yellow, because whenever I look at gold or brass, it has like a yellowish kind of hue or a greenish kind of hue to me, which I can create with my brown and yellow. So I love using this color combination to create a metallic type of look. You don't necessarily need to buy metallic paint in order to get a metallic look if you've utilized the right colors. So this is about where I'm headed for this. So now that I've got that color in my arsenal, I'm going to start adding the contour highlights to the face. So a little bit in the forehead, in the eyelids, in the cheeks, definitely on this side of the face as well. So I'm going to put a little bit of paint on my brush. The whole key here is never use a ton of paint on your brush, just a little bit on your brush, and you can always add more, but it's tough to take it away once you've got it on there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start up here in the forehead. I know that I want the forehead to pop out a little bit as well as the bridge of the nose. So I'm taking that gold color and putting it in the areas that I want to pop out the most. And then I just fade it off into the darker color, which was the burnt sienna, and then into the black. I will get darker as it dries, so I may end up adding more layers, especially like up in the eyebrow area. But right now I'm just going to kind of put this on where I want these areas to start to emerge as being fuller than other areas, and then we will I'll add lighter tones on top of it. But right now I'm just going to put my gold. I know that it's going to be see-through, so that is wonderful. It's going to see everything that's underneath it because I did not put any white into the paint. So this is allowing it to continue to be transparent or translucent. I know this is my little ear in through here, so I'm just going to kind of skip that or just bring this down along the side of the face in through here. I'm going to put a little bit in her eyelids. So a little bit of that gold on my brush, putting it in those eyelids, allowing it to kind of just get a little bit heavier in through here, and then I just brush it out so it gets darker up towards the top of that eyelid. I'm going to do the same thing on the cheeks. So I've got that gold on my brush, and then I'm moving it in the direction towards the darkness. So if I want it the brightest over here, that's where I'm going to have the most paint. And then I can just either dry brush it like this with a little scrubbing technique, or just kind of lightly pull it into the darkness so I'm not bringing it in too heavy with my brush. So something like that works. I'm going to do the same thing over on this right cheek in through here. So I'm starting over here because that's where it would pop out the most off of my camera or off of my canvas, and then just kind of lightly bringing it in towards that darker area in through here, where I feel that the face would kind of recede a little bit next to that eye, next to the nose. And then I don't want this to just look black in through here, so I'm going to kind of allow some of that gold to intermingle with that a bit. Maybe right now I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of my burnt sienna too. I'm just feeling like this isn't blending enough down in through here, so a little bit of burnt sienna and my gold is on my brush right now, just to kind of get all of this to look like it works together down in this like chin region. And again, just kind of allowing it to merge into each other, so we've got a little bit of fullness on her chin. I might make it recede a little bit in a minute. We'll see what it looks like when it dries. But now that I've got the gold on there, I'm going to start building it towards a little bit brighter. But first, I'm going to put a little bit more on her nose. So I just picked up a little bit more of that gold, get a little bit more going on in the nose here. And depending on what Buddha you're looking at, there's different styles with different cultures. Some are more feminine looking, some are more male looking, some have different shaped features. So feel free to make this into whatever style of Buddha that you would like. It does not have to be exactly as mine. So I feel like I want a little bit more shadowy area in through here. So before I start adding my lighter tones, I want to just make sure that I've got enough of the deep darkness that I want near that nose. So I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of burnt sienna and black on my brush at the same time, just a itty bitty bit of each on my brush, because I want this to really look like it's kind of transitioning into the face. So this is just a little bit of burnt sienna and black on my brush, just a teeny tiny bit to get this little shadowy area under or next to the eye to just work with that skin. And that's, as I'm doing these kind of effects on skin or on anything that I want to have this good dimension, I do make sure as I'm going through the process, if there is a part that I need to stop and tweak, I make sure that I do that so I don't run into trouble later. Like I keep wanting to fiddle with this part under the nose, so I just picked up a little bit more black so I can get this to just kind of work its way. And again, once I have that mouth finished, it may be just fine for me and I might like it the way that it is, but I keep kind of fiddling with it as I'm going through this process. So now that I've got the darkness, I'm thinking that this is pretty good. Now I'm kind of feeling like I'm seeing the cheeks kind of emerging, and I think that's what I was desiring. So this is looking pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash and dry my brush after I just put a little bit of darkness over here. Like I want this little eye to sink in a little bit. There we go. And again, these little tweaks are what are going to help to make it look a little bit more realistic. There we go. So I'm going to wash and dry my brush, and I'm going to start putting a little bit more highlight on that skin. So I'm going to wash and dry my brush. I'm putting my gold plus a tiny bit of white on my brush. So just a teeny tiny bit. You don't need a lot. So gold plus a teeny tiny bit of white. And this is going to allow this left-hand side of the face to start to emerge and be really nice and vibrant and show that there is a light source over on this side. So just a little bit of white is gonna, with my, oops, I just went into the ear. A little bit of white with my gold, just kind of tapping it down this side. Now I know that my white can get me into trouble, so I don't want to pull it over too far, so I'm just going to wipe my brush off on my paper towel and pick up more of my gold. So this is where I'm going to get these two colors to transition and get to be nice and give me a lot of form on that face. I'm going to do the same thing in the eye. While I've got this lighter version on my brush, I'm going to just kind of put a little bit in through here. And this is one of those steps that you might find as you're doing it that you need to come back and do more than one layer. Maybe you went too bright, or maybe you're not going bright enough. Just go progressively. Let it, go slowly to start, and then as you're building your confidence with the lighter tones, you can certainly become more aggressive with getting it to go a little bit lighter. But just start slowly. You can even start with a little bit of water on your brush or liquid medium. So as you're getting these more vibrant tones to kind of emerge, you will you can spread it out a little bit further, allowing it to kind of just blend in with those colors underneath. And as right now, I'm just getting this forehead to go a little bit brighter, so I just picked up a little bit more of the gold. And then I would just kind of, as this is drying and developing, I would, just let it sit, let it go for a couple minutes, because again, it's going to turn different as it dries because of all of those dark tones that we had underneath. So be patient with it, and if you need to continue to add more layers, I'm trying to get this left-hand side the brightest, so I keep elevating that look. I'm going to put a little bit more on my nose and through here, but again, I'm just proceeding with caution. I don't want to necessarily overdo it, so I'm just going pretty darn slow. I started with white, then I picked back up my gold, maybe a little pop of brightness on the nose, maybe a little bit on that side of the nostril, and again, I'll tweak the nose when I go to finish all of my my facial features themselves, but you can certainly start, developing it on this step as well. A little bit more gold is going on my brush for this eyelid in through here. And then I'm going to, before I say that I'm done, I'm going to put a little bit of this gold on the lips as well, just so I can get that, that start of the metallic look. So I just put a tiny bit of the gold on my brush, and I'm just going to kind of go over these lips just a little bit with my big brush. So again, I can start that process of showing that part. And you can fiddle. Like, I feel like I want more burnt sienna up here, so I can pick up a little bit of my burnt sienna just to get this to blend a little bit more, because as it's drying, this is looking a little bit too bright for me here. So this is where once it starts to dry, you can bring back some of those colors, like bring back some of the burnt sienna or a little bit of the black if you felt that you wanted it to go a little bit darker. And then once you've done all of the fiddling that you want to do, and you've got it as bright as you want it, like right now I'm picking up a little bit more gold because it's drying a little bit darker than I want over here, so a little bit more gold went onto my brush. Once you've got this done, we are going to be using our small brush for the next step. So you can put this large brush away, take out your small brush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to finish the face. I'm going to be using my small brush. The colors that I'm going to use are my gold, white, black, gray, and probably some burnt sienna. But again, I'll call them out as I use them. So what I'm in essence going to do is I'm going to be putting a decorative mark on her forehead. I'll be illuminating her eyelids, making them look a little bit more feminine. Put a couple little highlights in the eyebrow area, finish up her ear, finish up some little details on her nose and her mouth. So I'm going to start with my little round mark on the forehead. So I'm going to pick up a touch of gold and white to start. And I'm just going to give myself a little circular type of mark in through here that's maybe, I don't know, a 1/2 inch wide by 1/2 inch tall. You could certainly, again, make this any size that you'd like, but I'm going to just kind of make it in this kind of size, and I'll let it dry for a minute before I put any highlight or shadow on it. I'm going to use my gold to put a highlight on the ear as well. So I've just got my gold color, and I'm just going to kind of bring this down in through here. I think that looks pretty good. Something like that. Maybe a little highlight on the edge of the ear in through here. I'm going to use this gold to illuminate the eyelid. So I have gold and white on my brush. Illuminate my eyelids a little bit. I think I want this one a little bit lighter, so I'm going to use that gold and white to illuminate this eyelid a little bit more. So this one looks like it's closer to this left-hand side. So gold and white, and just kind of making this eyelid a little bit lighter, and then bringing in a bit more lightness on this little lid in through here. So again, gold plus white will give me this bit of a highlight on the edge of that eye. I was a little bit much. So when you do it too much, just bring back some of that gold. There we go. That works out. Sometimes I want the highlight, but that was a little bit too much for me. So that looks pretty good. And then what I'm going to do is, with this gold and white, now that it's on my brush, I'm going to make any other bright spots that I want. So I want the side of the nose definitely to have its brightness, but I want this little tip of the nose to have a little bit of brightness as well. So I'm really using my smaller brush in order to give myself the ability to make more kind of defined modifications on these areas. I don't necessarily want it to go too bright or too bold, but I definitely want there to look like maybe this left side is a bit more in the light than the right hand side is. So gold and white is where I'm starting, and then I can just transition into my gold. I just picked up just gold, so it goes a little bit darker in through here. So I'm just illuminating this nostril just a little bit, maybe bumping out the end of the nose just a bit so it gives it a little bit more volume, maybe a touch more white on here just to give myself a bit more highlight on this part. And again, I'm just kind of going slowly and just adding what I feel is suitable for having the air little pops coming out. Like maybe there's a little tiny bit of a highlight up on that. Oops, my hand is getting away from me. I'm going to just put a little bit of water on my brush to get rid of that mark in through there. There we go. So once I've got that on there, I'm going to move into my mouth so I can put some little highlights on my mouth. So I'm going to start with just gold so I can get my mouth in shape. And again, I don't need to do the whole thing. I think I want to pull these corners out a little bit. I'm utilizing the gold in order to give me just some nice shiny notes to the mouth. You could use it to make the lips bigger if you wanted to. You know, I'm just using it to enhance them and make them have a little bit of volume to it. But I think I want to pull this corner of the mouth up too, just make it look a little bit more like she's got maybe a little peaceful grin on her face. I'm going to put a tiny bit of white on my brush with my gold right now to give myself a little bit more of illumination on this left hand side of the mouth. Again, to speak to where the light source is. So that was a little bit of white. Now I put a touch of the gold on there. And again, just kind of working this out and allowing it to work its way into the rest of the mouth. I'm going to put maybe a little bit of additional colors on the lips in through here in a second. I'm going to work my way into maybe a little bit of the gray or the burnt sienna in a second here, but just want to get this started. That's looking pretty good. So that's pretty good for my highlights. Maybe I'm going to put two more highlights on my my ear and my mark on the forehead. So I just picked up more gold and white. I'm going to give myself a nice bright mark on that and on the ear in through here. There we go. And now I'm going to start adding my other colors. So I want a little bit more in my eyebrows and in these bottom eye parts. So I'm going to pick up some of that gray that we used for the headpiece, and I'm going to put some gray in the eyebrows. So not much, just a little bit to give maybe a little bit more dimension. Put a tiny bit in through here to give, you know, just a little bit more dimension. Now I'm going to pick up a touch of black so I can maybe make this a little bit wider in through here, make sure everything connects the way that I want it to. Can even pull down the corners of the eye if that works for you, or if you wanted more, you know, information, you can certainly do that. I'm thinking that that's looking pretty good. I'm going to pick up gray plus a touch of white now to give myself a little bit more of a highlight over on this left side. So this is gray plus a little bit of white, again, because this side is over towards the light source. And now I'm going to pick up, or I'm using still a little bit of that gray. I'm going to put a tiny bit of that in the lips. Again, because of the metallic value that I want this to have, the gray will help me to achieve that. It'll almost make it look like it's got a little bit of blue in it, because the gray is such a contrast on top of those warmer colors that we used. And then it's looking pretty good. I'm actually going to I wipe my brush off. I'm picking up a tiny bit of burnt sienna to put on this right side of the lips, because I'm feeling like I want that to kind of recede a little bit more. So picking up a little bit of my burnt sienna just to get this to look like it's more kind of over on the right hand side, and then a touch of black to just kind of darken in between those lips. Again, on this right hand side, I'm feeling like I just wanted a little bit more contrast over there to get that to look like it's on the right hand side. And then I would just kind of fiddle with it. If, oh, I need a little shadow underneath my my headpiece, so or that little mark, I'm putting a touch of black on my brush to do a little shadow underneath here, like this. And then I'm gonna finish my ear. I see that I have chalk marks, so I'm taking my black and just kind of erasing those chalk marks. And I want this ear to be very subtle over here, so the black will help me to kind of set it in the darkness and just get it to go a little bit less bold. So I'm softening up my edge of my ear so it doesn't, I don't want it to stick out too much. So there we go. That's looking pretty good. And then we're going to be using, you can make any little adjustments that you want. We're going to use this same brush for the next step. So once you've got your face done, make any little adjustments you want, put wash and dry that small brush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to finish the headpiece. I'm going to be using my small brush. The colors that I'm going to use are gold, pink, white, and if I need any other colors, I'll let you know. So really what I'm going to do is similar to what I did on the face, which is I'm going to be adding some nice metallic highlights to all of these pieces. And then I also want to incorporate some of the pink because the neck piece is going to have a lot of pink in it, so I wanted it to color coordinate. So we're going to have some shiny pink stuff at the top too. So I'm going to start with my gold color, and what I'm going to first do is just kind of give myself a light layer of the gold on the circles. You don't have to color it all the way. This is just an accent to the first layer. And again, because it is transparent, it's going to see some of that original burnt sienna that we put on it. So that's going to give it that metallic type of look to it. So I'm just going through all of my circle pieces, giving them a quick layer of the transparent gold color that we created. And because it's transparent, some of them are going to look brighter, some of them are going to look duller because they've got maybe one's got thicker paint on it than the other, so that will give them a different kind of look to them. I'm going to do the same thing on all of these little decorative marks that we did. So just kind of giving these little swipes on top of that original burnt sienna. I'll do it up here as well. So I'm really just kind of giving myself a second layer on my burnt sienna. But again, you don't need to do it all the way. So just these quick swipes on these, on the linear type of marks that we were making will help to give you that, you know, that shininess to it, that shiny metallic look to it. So again, just kind of got my gold on my brush, going quickly just down each one of these marks, not terribly concerned if I've got it perfect, just going down them. So now that I've got that, I'm going to put a little bit of gold plus white on my brush. So this is going to give me my highlight of sorts on these pieces. So I can just take it and give myself a little quick swipe up on the top left hand side of all of these round pieces. So this is gold plus white on my brush, and then I just can pick up a little bit of that gold and get it to blend in a little bit more if I want to. So you can do, you know, multiple swipes on it if you want to. The second swipe just had a little bit more gold on it, so I can get that white to blend in just a little bit. And I'm going top left because I feel like that's where the again, where the light source would be. So gold plus white is my second kind of swipe to just get it to blend in just a little bit. Again, I don't need to do much to make these look shiny and, you know, make it as bright as you want. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of this highlight on these guys in through here. So gold plus white will give me just a little shiny twinkle on these. I'm going to incorporate the pink in a minute, but just getting this main color on here, and gold plus white is going to do it on this little part as well. And again, as it dries, you might find that it dries darker than you had anticipated or lighter than you had anticipated, and you can always tweak it after that. And just kind of quickly swipe down my brush with the gold and white, giving just a tiny little accent there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash my brush. I'm going to pick up some of my fluorescent pink, bold fluorescent pink, and I'm going to give some accents on here. So I've got my fluorescent pink, and I'm going from the top down on here. It's going to look really bold and vibrant when it's wet, but when it dries, it's going to just add this beautiful like shimmering color to this decorative headpiece. So something like this. And of course you might want to do more than one layer, all up to you. If you wanted to incorporate a little bit down in through here, you can certainly pick up pink plus, let's say, your gold. So pink plus gold, and that could give you just these extra little shimmers on these pieces, maybe down in that bottom right. So feel free to have fun with that. Then the last thing that I need to do once I've got these done is I want to make sure that the edge of my headpiece is done. So I'm going to wash and dry my brush because I still see chalk mark, and it doesn't look like it looks like it's merged into my head. So I want those two to look separate. So I washed and dried my brush. I'm going to put black paint on my brush, and I'm going to give myself a real nice dark shadow underneath the edge of the headpiece. So this takes care of all of my chalk marks. If I want it to look a little more three-dimensional, I can even put a curved shadow right in through here as if this is casting a shadow on the forehead. So those are just little tiny nuances that if you incorporate them, they will definitely make your piece look a little bit more realistic. And then I'll just kind of blend this shadow into the face a little bit, and then you can do any little modifications you want. If you felt that you wanted more shadows, you can certainly just keep picking up that black paint. You can even make these shadows and through here a little bit more. I know that we did them already, but if after you've done painting, you know, all of the decorations, if you felt that you wanted to enhance those feel free to do so. And then we're going to be using this small brush for the next step. So once you've got your headpiece done, you can wash and dry this small brush and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to finish the neck piece. I'm going to be using my small brush. The colors that I'm going to use are black, gold, pink, white, and maybe a little yellow, not sure, but definitely black, gold, pink, and white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cast a shadow of the neck piece on her face, a little bit in through here. Make sure I have enough shadow in between my petals, and then I'll start building that metallic look similarly to how we did the headpiece, which was we went gold, then pink, then white. So I'm going to start with just black paint on my brush, and I'm going to be putting little shadows on her face to give the illusion that these couple of petals are casting a shadow on her face. So if my light source is over here, maybe this little tip or this little tip is casting a shadow right here on her face. And I want my shadows to be pretty darn bold, so I'm just going to put some real clean shadows in through here to give the illusion that it is really just kind of a vibrant light cast upon it. So I've got a corner of my flower right in through here, so I'm going to put a little bit of a shadow of that corner right in through here, and then just bring it along the edge of that flower right in through here. And again, your corners might look different than mine do on your flower tips, so feel free to make it into whatever you want. I think I'd see a little bit of this edge in through here as well, so we're going to just put a nice dark shadow right in through there. I'm going to put a little bit of this one right in through here. So kind of going to the right of these edges of the petals. Maybe this one is just kind of cast over in this direction and is going to go between these two like this. So again, this is just one of those things that really can add so much to the painting. I'm going to put a little bit over in through here just to, in case like maybe the tip of this one is going, can show that. And then maybe like this petal is casting a shadow over onto this one. So you can kind of dictate that. And maybe there's just a little shadow in through here. So something like that. And then what I'm going to do is make sure that I have enough darkness down at the bottom, which it looks like I do, but I'm just going to take that black and just kind of bring it up in between some of these petals. So this is more so for you at home. If you didn't have enough darkness down at the bottom, you can just pull a little bit of the black up in between some of those petals. It'll help to start getting rid of your chalk marks if you have any of those left over, and then maybe just a little bit in between some of those petals if you felt it was necessary. You might not feel that you need any additional darkness between them or at the bottom of them. That'll be your call. So once I've got that done, I'm going to wash and dry my brush, and I'm going to pick up some of my gold color. So I'm going to approach this just like I did the other pieces. I'm going to kind of start where I want that piece to pop out the most. So for me, it's going to be on the top of the petals and where the petal kind of bumps out from us. So I can easily kind of start up at the top with my gold color like this, and then just pull it down in the direction that I feel that that petal is, like the veins on the petal would go. So for me, I'm going to have it kind of coming in through here. And then I'll just kind of let go of my brush as I get down towards the bottom of that petal itself. So again, just starting at that top and then pulling it down in the direction that I feel that petal would be going. I'm going to start over here. Just give myself a nice kind of bold edge in through there. I definitely want it to be nice and bright in through here, and then I can just kind of fade it out. So again, you want it to be the thickest and the brightest where that part of that object is sticking out the most or seeing the light the most. So I've got mine kind of curving, so I want that edge to tell the story that this is the part that's popping out the most, so I can put the brightest part in through there. And then of course I've got my little edges that will, you know, catch the light, so I can get those to be a little bit shiny and bright as well. And then just get this to fade down into the darkness, and that will give me the most dimension of it. I'm going to go over onto these ones. Maybe this one's just a little tiny one in through here. So just get a little bit on the edge and then pull it down. And then these ones over here are going to be really bright because they are the closest to the light source. So I'm going to put a lot of my gold on right now on this left hand side and pull it down in, of course, the direction that we did initially. So this is all kind of just a repeat type of step. But again, because we're using this transparent color, it's building these layers that are making this look three-dimensional. It's making it look like it's got some great texture to it, and this kind of metallic look to it. As these ones kind of cup under, they're going to be bright on the edges, but then they're going to drastically get darker because they're really light or really close to the light source, and then they go really past or really into the dark quickly. So I'm going to do a lot at the top on these guys, and then I'll have it coming down. But when we go to do the pink, that's going to be even the brightest. So again, just kind of getting this to fade down here, but I don't need it to go all the way light on these. So just want to get that gold on there. And if you need to use your fingers, go ahead and use your fingers. Sometimes I'm doing this and I don't even notice that I just used my finger as a tool. So sorry about that. I wanted it to blend in really well, and my finger was the best tool for the job at that moment. So again, my gold is going up here, and then I'll just kind of get it to blend down into the darkness down in through here. And once I've got my gold on, I'm going to start applying my pink, just like I did on that headpiece. So the gold, again, is just adding that metallic sheen to it, and then we'll get the pink on top of it to add that decorative kind of color to it. So that's looking pretty good to me. So I'm going to wash and dry my brush, and I'm going to, on the pieces up top, the circular pieces, we went for just a highlight first. I'm going to go for the pink first on these guys. So I'm just picking up some pink first, and this is going to, I think I have another extra color on my brush. So I'm going to start over on the right hand side, and again, I'm going to approach it in a similar way, just putting the pink on and pulling it down. I'm going to add a lighter version in a minute, but I'm just progressively getting my going towards that light and towards the vibrancy of it. If you can approach it in this progressive way, that's when you're going to see the most dimension on it. If you just try to, sorry, I just kicked the camera. If you try to get the brightness to happen right off the bat, you may just miss your opportunity to get these dimensional elements in play. So again, I've got my pink on here, and I'm running right now, I'm running through some of the gold wet, which is great. That's gonna also help to add those let the colors kind of talk to one another. So again, just kind of doing this in a progressive way. I will add my super bright lights on in a minute, but the pink is coming to life, and it's bringing this beautiful kind of feminine quality to my Buddha, which I think was visually appealing to me as I was creating this. I thought it would be nice to make it have a feminine feel to it with this pink color on it, which is just very pretty because the lotuses come in all different colors. So it was really neat to just make a metallic looking structure to decorate her with. So, and by using this pink, it makes it really nice and unique because I don't think you often see pink metal type of objects. So this is kind of allowing us to explore even more creativity, and then just bringing a little bit up in through here. And you can see I'm just kind of going through the same step on each and every petal. I had a lot of pink over here, so I'm just carrying it into my other guys over here. And then once I've got this layer of my pink on here, which this was just fine because this is going to be one of my brightest petals anyways. Once I've got this on here, I'm just going to put some real bright highlights on the edges of the ones that I feel would be illuminated the most, to give me that final bit of dimensional element to it. And this is again one of those things where as you're building this, you can probably detect, like over on my right petals, they're getting darker as they dry. So as you're building yours, if you're feeling like you want to build 4 or 5 more layers on top of them, go for it. That's going to be your preference as to how far or how bright you want this this part of the painting to be. If you want it to match the upper portion and the upper portion is brighter or darker, you can certainly adjust your values to make it really coordinate with that upper portion. And then once I've got this done, I'm thinking this is my last one in through here. I'm looking at all my chalk marks. So before I go into my vibrant area, I'm going to just kind of tackle these chalk marks. So I'm going to put a little bit of gold and black on my brush to just make sure that I've got all of my chalk marks taken care of, because I know I'm going in for my final highlights, and it looks like I am unfinished here with some of my chalk marks still visible. So this was just gold and black that I threw on my brush to take care of those. So that way when I go to do my highlights, I will be nearing the finish line. So that's looking good. So I'm going to wash and dry my brush again, and I'm going to put some really bright highlights on, especially on this left hand tips, but I don't want to miss these guys over here. So I'm putting pink plus a tiny bit of white on my brush for my highlights over on this right hand side. Pink plus just a little bit of white. I'm going to catch the edges in through here. I'm going to do a couple at a time because I know I'll be able to pull that paint back once I've got it on here. So I've put it on. I can wipe my brush off on my paper towel and then just kind of pull these back just a little bit. I don't need to do much with these ones over on the right hand side because I know, again, my light source is over on the left. So I'm just going to kind of make sure that these tips are visible, and if I need to, I just picked up a little bit more pink just to get this to blend in, and I'm not going to do much to these guys over in through here, making sure that I've got it blended well enough. But again, you can certainly increase or decrease that tonal value if you want to. This one in through here is going to start to get even brighter. So pink plus white, but more white. So I'm going pretty darn bright up in through here on this edge here because I feel like it would be catching the light the most, and then just pulling it back. I'm going to pick up pink in a second here. So pink is going on my brush now to get this to blend out a little bit. And again, when you're doing this, you're going to find your rhythm. If, start slow and just working your way towards those lighter values. Again, I knew that I wanted this to be pretty bright. This little guy in through here is going to get a little extra brightness. So he's small, so this one's small, so I could just use the remnants on my brush. This one over here is going to get pretty a lot. So pink and white, I definitely want nice brightness up in through here and along this little corner in through here. And then maybe it gets darker as it goes towards the right, as it's receding along her face. So I just picked up pink to get this to blend in. So you're going to want to put your brightest area on first and then just blend it out into where you feel the darker area of that particular petal would be. And all the while, I'm just kind of bringing my brush in the direction that I feel it would, the little veins of that leaf would go. So again, right up here, pink and white, really heavy on the white up in through this corner, pulling it down this left-hand side, maybe along this edge a little bit, and then wiping my brush off, picking up pink and pulling it down that petal in the direction that I feel those veins are going. And again, it's going to get darker as it dries, and I know that. So it looks a little bold as I put it on, but then as it dries, it will subside a bit. So pink and white going on this little guy here. Just a couple more to go. We're in the home stretch. So a little bit of pink and white up in this corner here, wiping my brush off, picking up just pink because I want this one to be a little bit darker than that one up there. And again, you can use your own visual preference to how bright or how soft you want these to be. There we go. And then we just got these little guys here, pink and white. I'm going to catch this little corner here the most, and maybe a little bit on this edge. Wipe my brush off, pick up pink, get this to blend down. That might be a little bit too bright, so just wiped my brush off again, picking up just pink. There we go. That works. And again, you just kind of play with it. And if the worst case scenario, because you're working on a black background, if it all goes too wrong, you can always paint that petal back with black and start the process over, where you do the burnt sienna, and then you bring the gold, and then you bring the pink on top of it. But the black background, is definitely there to assist if you need to. You can always just bring it back to the beginning and start over on that one thing. And then once you've got this on, you can do any little fiddling and tweaks that you want. We're going to be using this small brush for the next step, so you can just wash it and dry it and get ready. All right, so we are on to the final step. This is the final step of every painting, which is to sign it. So I typically sign mine in the bottom left or the bottom right. I think I'm going to go bottom left on this one, and I'm going to sign it in this petal with black paint and my small brush. I like to sign mine with my initials, but you could certainly sign yours with your first name or the date or a symbol, or whatever you'd like for your identifying mark to be is totally fine, because it's your painting and you get to sign it however you'd like. And that's going to conclude this painting. I hope you enjoyed the process. I hope you painted yourself a very inspirational image, and I look forward to painting and sipping with you again sometime.